Hello, 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 and welcome back to the My Sugar-Free Journey podcast. I am here again with Carrie Brown after last week's fantastic episode all about thickeners. I guess I should let the readers know I still haven't bought my konjac flour, but it's in my little Amazon cart. I'm waiting to get a few other things as well. But it was a fantastic episode. I'm looking forward to making a few more. In fact, I just had a dish the other day where I was in the middle of making it, thinking, you know what, some gravy would be good with this, and then I didn't have my konjac flour, so it didn't work out. But that's going to happen very shortly. But today we're going to talk about something else entirely. So first of all, welcome back to the show, Carrie.
Hey, Alan, how are you?
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And what are we talking about today?
Well, today I'm going to let you know how you can instantly be a better cook.
Instantly. Yeah, we're going to put that to the test.
And the reason I want you to be an instantly better cook is so that, well, lots of reasons. If the food you're making is delicious, you're going to keep eating it. And that means you're going to keep keto. And that means you're going to have more success on your keto journey. And it also means you're going to save money because you're not having cooking fails, but also like emotionally, you're just going to feel good that you are successful in the kitchen. So for lots of kind of physical reasons and emotional reasons, instantly being a better cook is like a really, really cool thing. And I'm going to show you or explain to you how you can instantly be a better cook.
You know, the emotional aspect of being of having access to good food, to me, it wasn't that important. But some of the people I deal with, like friends and family, and some of the people that are in my Facebook group and everything, especially for whatever reason, I live in Texas, so you know we have a lot of Hispanic people that I talk to and that I deal with. The emotional aspect of having access to something like rice and beans and tortillas, if you start telling them they have to take that out of their diet, and it really affects them on an emotional level because they feel like they're disconnecting from some kind of genetic, tribal thing. And so I've seen over the years that, making good food available, that emotional aspect is so important. So I'm glad that we're going to be talking about this and how to be a better cook instantly. Love that. So let's get into it. How do we do it?
It's very hard for a lot of people. You and I were just talking about this beforehand, that some people can eat if they knew that cardboard was the most nutritionally dense thing on earth, they would eat cardboard 3 meals a day and be perfectly happy.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people, nor are you, and
Exactly.
Nor are most people, which of course is partly why we're in the problems, health problems we have, because we enjoy eating, but we also love the different tastes and textures. So for me and for the majority of people, if your food's not tasting good, you ain't going to stick to it. You're not going to keep eating a keto diet,
right,
if it doesn't taste good. So for me, this was when I was thinking about what we should talk about. I was thinking, what's the one thing I could share with people that would make them a better cook, make them more successful, which is good for everyone. It's great, emotionally as well to be successful at something. What's the one thing I could share with them that will instantly make them better and therefore make it easier for them to stay on the keto train? And this is it. So that's what I'm going to share.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it already.
So the way that you can instantly be a better cook is to measure things correctly.
All right, I'm out. No. No, this is good. Why, how, like, what are you talking about? Measure what things?
So, especially with baking recipes, it's not so important with entrees and things like that. But anything that involves a lot of science, like baking recipes, if you do not measure correctly and exactly, you are going to have a fail, because baking is science and the ratios of the ingredients have to be correct in order for it to work. So, and you're going, okay, I'm not sure where this is leading to. Some of you who know me, or if you've been to, even if you don't know me, but you've been to my blog, you will notice that all my recipes are written in weights.
Right.
Not volume.
I've seen that, like how many grams of whatever. I'm like, I don't know what a gram is.
You will in a minute. So, and the reason that I do that, the primary reason why I weigh everything, well, there's a few reasons, but the primary reason I do it is so that you can be a superhero in the kitchen. So you will get consistently great results every time you cook. And the only way you can ensure that you get consistent results is with dry ingredients, is by using weight, not volume.
Okay.
So liquid should be measured by volume and dry ingredients should be measured by weight if you want consistently good results and if you want recipes that work.
Okay.
So, and you will, I promise you, and I've had thousands of people have emailed me over the years telling me that they thought I was full of it, but they went and got a food scale and they were instantly better cooks overnight. And I have had a lot of people yell at me and say, convert it to cups. And I'll tell you why I can't do that in a minute, but convert it to cups. And I'm like, no, I won't convert it to cups because that's not helping you. That's going to hinder you. So I'm not going to do it. Who have gone and bought a food scale and then written back to me and said, okay, now I get it. And now I will never do a recipe that isn't in weights. I will always weigh everything because I have instantly become a better cook. And that's the point. So the reason I'm so insistent on weighing dry ingredients is for your cooking success so that you can instantly become a better cook. But it's incredibly frustrating the amount of misinformation that there is there out on the internet, internets, I keep saying that.
Interwebs, whatever.
Out on the interwebs about weights and measures, and the whole world apparently is confused. Even Google is very confused about this. Although one of my admins in my Facebook group asked Siri how to convert a weight to a cup. And even Siri said, this is not a thing.
Right. That makes sense.
Okay, but here's why I'm talking about this. Many people do not have success in the kitchen. A lot of their problems, they put the problem down to them not being a good cook or them doing something wrong, when a lot of their problems are simply inaccuracies in weighing, especially when they're doing baking. So the reason that I talk about this a lot is because I want to stop the fails, which is going to save a bunch of time and it's going to save you a bunch of money and it's going to give you a happy family because they're going to be eating delicious food. So what am I talking about? Weights and volume, you can't convert them one to the other. Weight and volume are two completely different ways of measuring things, and they don't translate. They're not interchangeable. People in the US do not understand cups, and they don't have the measuring cups. So they constantly ask for conversions. They come on the internet and they see all these recipes and they're written in cups. And so they ping my group or someone and say, what is a cup of ground almonds in ounces or grams? Because that's the measure that they use. Now,
are you sure it's not the other way? People, because I have a measuring cup. I don't have a gram thing. So, I mean, I would think it would be the other way, that somebody would see a measurement in grams and want to know what that is in cups.
Oh, I have that too.
Okay.
I have that too.
All
But for anyone outside the US,
okay.
the problem is that
foreigners.
cups mean nothing to them.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people outside the US. I know some
I've
people
heard.
are surprised about that, but there's a lot of people out there. They all talk funny, but there's a lot of people out there. So they come to me and they're reading. The majority of keto recipes are US based.
Yeah.
So they see, they're trying to do keto. They don't have the resources we do here. They come to me and they're saying, what's a cup of ground almonds in a weight? And then the internet will give them a billion different answers and almost all of them will be wrong. Right. And here's why. So if you start, if you go in your kitchen and you fill a cup with whole almonds, cup of almonds, right, and then you weigh it to see how much that is, right? You've got an amount. Mm-hmm. If you then grind those almonds and put them back in the cup, you'll immediately realize that you magically no longer have a cup of almonds.
Right. It's shrunk.
Right. So the weight is the same, but you no longer have a cup of almonds, even though you started with a cup of almonds, because volume is based on the particle size. Mm-hmm. So, and it's the commonest example is the lead versus feathers thing. The way you teach people this concept is, what weighs more, a pound of feathers or a pound of lead?
They're both the same, right?
They're both the same.
Right.
But in terms of volume, right, if you looked at a pound of feathers, the pile would be huge. If you looked at a pound of lead, it takes physically very little space. So this is why volume and weights are not convertible. Okay. So, and even the difference, going back to the cup of almonds, you grind the almonds and you no longer have a cup, but then you grind them again so they're super fine almonds and you have even less volume in that cup. So now you're down to half a cup. So that 1 cup of whole almonds is, 3/4 of a cup of ground almonds and half a cup of superfine ground almonds. Okay. So immediately, if you're using almond flour for baking, I hope you can see that even depending on the brand of ground almonds you use, you're going to have a different amount, because 1 cup of finely ground almonds actually going to weigh different to 1 cup of not so finely ground almonds, because there's going to be more in there. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense.
And another problem, a big problem when it comes to baking, is sweeteners. So unless a recipe is implicit about whether you want to use, whether the cup is a granular sweetener or a powdered sweetener, if it's not implicit and you have powdered and you use a cup of powdered sweetener, you're going to have way more than if you happen to have granular and used a cup of granular sweetener. You're going to have a different amount in weight, because the granular sweetener doesn't take up as much room as the powdered does. So if a recipe isn't implicit about whether you're using granular or powdered and the recipe's in cups, your ratios are going to be off. And especially with baking, the chances of you having a fail are huge, just because you've suddenly got, even though you've got a cup of sweetener, it might be completely off, because they may have used powdered sweetener, which is going to be a different weight to your granular sweetener.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I hope you all are starting to understand where I'm going with this, that volume and weight are not interchangeable. Also, the other problem, again, particularly with baking, is that we're all human. So one day you'll scoop a cup of ground almonds and maybe you're in a rush and you'll just scoop and throw it in. And maybe then on Sunday you got more time and you scoop it and you level it off or whatever. You are going to have different amounts of almonds
Yeah.
in those 2 days. So immediately your result is not going to be consistent just because one day you were in a hurry and didn't stop to level it off, or that you changed your brand of ground almonds and one's finer ground than the other. So even if you're consistently using cups, your results are not going to be consistent, because in our humanness, we're never going to get that cup packed down exactly the same every time. Whereas weight is always consistent. Weight
Right.
is weight is weight. So 8 ounces of ground almonds is 8 ounces of ground almonds. 8 ounces of almonds is the same as 8 ounces of ground almonds, or 8 ounces of super fine ground almonds. The weight is consistent. The volumes will all be different.
Right.
But if you weigh, that it's right, and you're always going to get a consistent result, and it's always going to work if you have a good recipe.
All right. Well, that makes sense. Okay. All right.
But a lot of people are out there thinking, I can't cook, or I did something wrong. But actually trying to make food, measuring dry ingredients by volume, brings inherent problems to the world of cooking that are nothing to do with you.
Well, that would explain some of the mistakes that I've made in the kitchen.
So that's why I say you can instantly become a better cook, because you're removing those inherent world problems of measuring dry ingredients in volume. If you weigh them, all those inherent problems that you think are you are not actually you. It's just because of the measuring problem. So you can instantly become a better cook if you start to measure your dry ingredients by weighing them.
Fantastic. Okay.
So I'm going to implore now, and I don't implore very often. I'm very much hey, you do you.
Right.
And if this works for you, then you should keep doing that. And if it doesn't, then you should stop. I'm very much what works for you is good for me, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. Yeah. However, I'm going to implore, please buy a food scale. They're like, you can get one on Amazon. We'll put a link in the notes to make it easy for you. You can get one for $10, a digital scale for $10. You will save that $10 in a week. Recipe fails.
Okay.
You will, and thereafter you will just continue to save money, because you won't have any fails. You won't be throwing ingredients away. But again, the emotional part, you'll also be more successful, and you'll also have more delicious food. So all of that for $10, it's a huge win. And there's a little bit of a learning curve, because you're just going to have to get used to doing something different.
Yeah.
But when you see the results that you get, and I've got an inbox full and Facebook groups full of comments of people saying, okay, now I get it, and now I weigh everything, and now I would never measure cups again because cups are dumb. And so people you will get the benefit. So $10, go get yourself a food scale.
Fantastic.
And when you're looking for a food scale, make sure you get one that has a tare button. Tare as in T-A-R-E. I know sometimes I talk funny. People don't know what I'm saying. Tare, T-A-R-E. So why that's cool is because it saves you dishes. And I'm a big fan of not washing dishes as much. So the scale with the tare, you put the bowl or the container on the scale, and then push the tare button, which zeroes out the weight. Oh. And then you put in your 8 ounces of almond flour, and then you tare it, and then you put in your 4 ounces of sweetener, and then you tare it. So you're not making a ton of different things dirty just to weigh everything. You just push the button, set the scale to 0, and then put the next thing in top. So you can save a lot of time and also a lot of dirty dishes by making sure that your digital scale has a tare button.
I didn't know what that tare button did.
That's what it does. It zeroes it out. So you can weigh into your mixing bowl rather than getting the top of the scale dirty or weighing in your bowl and then tipping that bowl into the mixing bowl. You can tip it, you can put everything straight in the mixing bowl just by pushing that tare button to zero it out every time. So that's the problem. And I hope people are starting to understand now why consistency is important. But there's some other things to know. And this whole problem has been recently further complicated by the fact that there's some food bloggers out there that are actually giving conversions. And I understand that they started life doing cups. They've kind of heard that weighing is better. So they're starting to give weights, which is awesome. I'm a big fan of that, obviously. But they're not giving up their cups. So they're trying to give you both. And I suspect that's because they don't want to lose people. Yeah. And they also want to be popular. They don't like giving people bad news. They don't like saying no. They want to like please everybody.
Sure.
And yeah, that's not me.
I can imagine. Well, yeah, and I imagine if you're writing recipes for an American audience, you'd want to use cups because that's what we use.
Right, and I get that, but I am way more interested in giving you recipes that will make you a rock star in the kitchen and giving you recipes where you will be consistently successful and have delicious food. I'm way more interested in that than I am in being popular. So if people come to my blog and they just, for whatever reason, don't want to be successful or want to have baking fails because they're married to their cups, that's fine. But peer pressure will never make me convert my weights into cups because it's counterproductive to what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help people be more successful on keto, and that would be counterproductive to that goal. And also, I really don't care about whether people like me or not. Yeah, because I'm trying to do the right thing here. So, and my point of bringing this up is not to rag on the other bloggers, because I get it, but it's making it more confusing for everyone else, because then they're seeing recipes with cup and weight equivalents and they're going, well, Carrie says that's not a thing, but clearly it is.
Right.
But it still isn't.
Right.
And you're still, even though those recipes where it'll have a cup and then it'll have a weight, you still have that inherent problem of how fine are your almonds ground? Are you talking about powdered or granular sugar? I'm in a hurry today scoop versus I'm not in a hurry today scoop. So that conversion that they're giving you is also inherently inaccurate. But they're kind of giving you the impression that you can use them interchangeably, and you can't. You can't convert a weight to a volume. It just doesn't work like that. So now it's been further complicated, and the bloggers are trying to help the weight people, but they're actually not helping anybody. They're making it more confusing, which is another reason why I wanted to do this show.
Good deal.
So, okay, what else?
Actually, I've got a question for you while you gather your thoughts. How often do you bake when you're not making a new recipe? When when you're not doing something for a cookbook or whatever, how often do you just bake something?
Never.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
That's not quite true.
Okay.
Twice a year, I will think, oh my goodness, if I don't get one of my cheesy biscuits right now, I'm not going to make it till tomorrow. Okay. However, I caveat that with saying that's because I'm continually creating new recipes.
Yeah.
And it's just me. I got no one here.
You got no one here to bake for.
Mm-hmm. Every time I create a recipe, that's like 4 meals or 4 days. So when you're continually developing new things, I have this constant smorgasbord of new stuff.
That makes sense.
So I never, it's very rare that I actually have a need to think, oh, I'll go back and make an old favorite just because I'm always doing something new.
Mm-hmm.
So if that made sense.
No, makes sense. I was just curious how big because I bake twice a year. I bake the night before Thanksgiving and I bake the night before Christmas. And that's pretty much it. So I didn't know if that was if I was an outlier, if there's people out there that's just baking up a storm.
I bake up a storm, but it's R&D.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Mostly because I don't have people. I have, I live in a house with cats and no humans. So, and there's always something new for me to eat. So I typically don't. I mean, Carl Franklin and I, because we both live in Connecticut, we hold little keto parties, dinner parties, typically once a month. And I'm dessert girl. And so I'll make, 30, 40, 50 of 2 or 3, 4 different desserts. So that'll be my big baking thing. But again, that's typically new recipes. That's typically developing new things. So.
Okay. Perfect. All right.
There it is. So there's still few things to talk about because we do have to talk about liquids.
Okay.
And another thing that the internet has caused a massive amount of confusion on. So liquids should be weighed by volume.
Okay.
And the internet is confused about the fact that 8 fluid ounces is not the same as 8 ounces.
Yeah.
8 ounces is a weight. 8 fluid ounces is a volume. And you can do it, if you don't believe me, you can do a very simple experiment by getting a cup full of water and weighing the water without the cup. You will see that 8 fluid ounces of water does not weigh 8 ounces.
Okay.
And again, every liquid is going to weigh a slightly different amount. So 8 fluid ounces is different to 8 ounces.
Okay, that makes sense.
So you can't weigh your volumes and you can't volume your weights. All liquids should be measured in fluid ounces, not weighed on the scale. So if you're reading a recipe that says fluid ounces, and it's typically the abbreviation is FL.OZ or milliliters, ML, you have to measure it in a volume device, cups or one of those pitchers, jugs with all the markings on.
Yeah.
Okay. Fluids have to be measured by volume. What else do I need to say?
You're on your own here because I have no idea.
That's why you have me come, right?
That's right. That's exactly
about the things you don't know about. So, but you are going to buy a scale, right?
I have a scale, but it's not digital. So I don't know. I may buy another one, but we do have a scale
upgrade.
Yeah.
The only time, and so you can go to my blog, and there's actually one recipe on there, which is a baked good, and it's not in weight.
Oh, okay. Is it all liquid?
No, it's not. But here's why. It's my chocolate fudge mug cake, which set the internet on fire a couple of weeks ago when I published it. People were incredibly excited about it. But it's all measured in tablespoons, and dry ingredients measured in tablespoons or teaspoons or half teaspoons. The reason that is okay is because the smaller the amount you're dealing with, the smaller the difference in inconsistency is going to be. Yeah. If you're trying to scoop a cup of ground almonds, you're going to be inaccurate a lot. If you're only talking about a tablespoon, the difference between them is not going to be great. So if you're only doing something that measures in tablespoons or half tablespoons or teaspoons, then you know what, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Or anyone smart arsey enough to go to my blog and go, hey, there's a recipe that's not in weights. That's why. Okay. So not when it comes to tablespoon measures. It's too small. It's not going to be terribly inconsistent, so I'm good with that. But that's the only time. So I want you to stop whatever it is you're doing now, unless you're driving, in which case you should carry on. But otherwise, if you're at home, you should stop right now, go to Amazon and put a food scale in your shopping cart. And then in 2 days, you will be able to don your Cooking Superstar cape.
Fantastic. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. You can find that at mysugarfreejourney.com/podcast.
And I realize that some of you are going to be sitting there thinking, and particularly the British and the Americans and well, actually all of you are going to be sitting there going, this sucks. And I agree. It does suck, but I would rather tell you the truth and have you go through this sucks pain, and rather have you not like me for a little while than lead you astray and lead you to do things that are going to make you less successful and have less delicious food.
No, we love you. You're great.
The other thing is, of course, that if we do everything in weights, it doesn't matter what language you speak, no matter where you are in the world, we're all on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can use recipes that are written in weights and be successful. And that's what I want for you all. So perfect. What did I say on to a non-measuring cook? What did I say that didn't make sense?
No, it all made sense. I just, gotta get in the habit of doing that, I guess. But it's good stuff.
Now, I must say that when it comes to non-baked goods, so maybe a casserole or a soup or stew, something like that, I still weigh everything.
Oh, really? Okay.
I do, because, again, I want everyone to have delicious food and I want them to be consistently successful. There's some of you out there who are just like happy as clams, just tossing stuff in and never measuring anything. And if you get great results and you like your food and you're happy, have at it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But there's a much larger number of people who don't have the confidence to do that, or they've had fails in the past, so they don't feel like they can do that, or they've just never learned. So that's kind of what this is about. It's about getting a good result in the first place. It's about being consistent, being able to recreate this and be continually successful. Yeah. Because it's not, a lot of people say that keto is expensive, but it's made even more expensive if you're wasting ingredients on something that nobody ate because it didn't taste good. So I am very consistent. I weigh everything. My recipes for everything are done in weights for that reason, so that you can all get consistent results every time. But does it matter structurally for baked goods? Yes, it does. For ice cream, absolutely critical that you follow the recipe and weigh everything exactly. When it comes to science, you have to be exact. But when it comes to stews and soups and stuff like that, will you have a fail if you only have 6 ounces of leeks instead of 10? No. Right. The consistency might be a little different. The flavor will be different, but are you going to have a fail? No, you're not.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to put this in action. Go make some baked goods.
I hope that makes sense. If you all have questions or whatever, you can email on, you can email me, you can Facebook me, whatever. If you still need help, then reach out to me. Okay. I want to see lots of superhero capes floating around now.
Yeah, guys, post your pictures on Instagram if you're baking anything. Tag me and tag Carrie on
Actually,
Instagram.
I want to see Instagram covered with pictures of food scales and your happy smiley faces.
Oh, there you go. So you're on Instagram, The Real Carrie Brown or Real Carrie Brown? I can never remember.
The Real Carrie Brown.
The Real Carrie Brown. So tag her.
Tag us. I want to see a picture of your food scale with your smiley happy face. And the caption, I am instantly a better cook.
Perfect. All right, Carrie, thank you so much for coming on the show, making us all better cooks.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure, and I hope I've been helpful.
I think you have been. All right, guys. Like she said, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you guys. If you have any questions, tag us on Instagram. Mine is My Sugar Free Journey, but journey spelled JRNY. We'd love to hear from all of you. Carrie, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. And those of you that are listening, hold on. We'll be right back with some more information.
See ya.